Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life, Brad, and I are going to dig into the giggly convo I had with Danielle Pisente in our last episode. If you haven't yet listened to that episode, feel free to pause us now, go back and listen to that one, and then come back and join us. Look, y'all.
Lots of giggles.
There's a lot of giggles in this one, but also I completely understand that if you are an iTunes listener and you're like, wait a minute, what happened to the episode before that? They have made it so that you have to manually go back to things to listen to ones you've missed.
I found a setting.
Yeah. Okay. Go into your setting.
The setting is about changing the order of unplayed episodes.
You found that? Because I found a different setting.
I found one where you can say play the oldest ones first.
Stop right now.
Yeah, inside of the show itself.
Why are you just now telling me this?
I just figured it out.
Well, I showed you something I figured out.
Yeah, I want to hear about it, babe.
Okay. So everyone, just so you know, if you would like to not hear whatever the newest episode is first in your series on iTunes, go into the podcast, and there's probably like 3 little dots, and then you can choose your own adventure with that setting. The next thing I discovered is because we were flying to Hawaii, and we're this like 5.5 hour flight, and I had all these podcasts to listen to. And I have everything, so I thought, on automatic downloads. By the way, like automatically downloading your favorite podcast is like such value to your favorite podcasters. You have no idea what that does for their business. So just a quick note. But I thought I did this already. So I'm on the plane, and like we're not even 40 minutes in, and I can't listen to any of my podcasts because even though they're in my listen now, they weren't automatically downloaded. And I'm like, I don't understand. I did this. This is my thing. So on our way back, I learned my lesson. And I was like, I got to figure out how to download these things. When you are in your podcast and you click on it, there's a little dot. This is on iTunes still. And it will have like an arrow down or a check mark. And if it's a check mark, it means it's downloaded. If it's not checked, you got to check it. And then it downloads it. And then in your settings, you can say, automatically download this. And that will repay all your favorite podcast hosts with your little click of a button. So that's like total currency to us as podcasters. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this podcast, Danielle, or what I'm excited about right now. So,
but that was great. Thanks for the quick announcement.
Yes. If you know how to do this on Spotify, Google Play, or any of the other things, let us know on the Be It Pod DMs, and we will teach that on the next episode. Here to help you be it till you see it and use technology. Okay, so I'm freaking stoked, y'all. Listen, we are in the early bird for my 100 With Me challenge, which I want to talk about because, look, I know you hear about challenges all the time and you think, oh, maybe I'm not good enough to be in a challenge. I've never done Pilates before. I'm not in shape enough or whatever. But my consistency challenges are specifically to teach you how to create consistency in your life around something you want. In this case, we're going to use Pilates. And if you've never done Pilates, don't worry. We give away the intro classes for those people to do, for those of you newbies in there. But our goal is to teach you how to create consistency in your life with positivity, community, connection, and accountability. And then everything we teach you, you can just rinse and repeat with other things you want to do. And so we're currently in the early bird, which means instead of paying $99 for $1,140 in value, you get this for
$50.
So that's a limited time offer. If you are by the next recap episode that is over, and maybe by the next guest interview episode that's over. What date does that end, babe?
Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna be in the show notes. It's gonna end whatever Sunday is. That's when it ends. So anyways, you go to 100withme.com. That's the number 100withme.com. And here's the other thing. Do you want to tell them? Let me tell them.
No, you can tell them.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Okay. So, we really try to figure out how we can give back in different ways with our businesses and everything that we do. We have adopted all the dogs that we can right now. But we're thinking like, how do we help people? And the reality is that, as we all know, the first responders have been on a marathon, like an elite 100-mile marathon.
I think like an 18-month marathon
that they never had trained for. That's not what they went to school for. And I'm
sure you remember last year they pulled medical students into hospitals because they needed help. And
it's not stopping because between fires, hurricanes, everything around the world, because I know we have so many Aussie listeners, UK listeners, like everyone's first responders are really being stretched beyond. And so the 100th Me, just so you know why it's called that, is it's about giving yourself 100% first. And you just do it with me. But the reason is that we have to fill our cups first so we can pour into other people's cups. You cannot pour from a half empty glass. And our first responders, I think, are having to pour from other glasses that they stored in reserves. And so what we figured out to do is we want to make sure that it's so easy for people who need this to sign up. And that means you can actually sign up a first responder in your life for $30.
Yeah.
So better than the early bird price, better than the full price. We are
basically the way that we want you to think about this is to sponsor a first responder, right? Yeah. So the reality is it's hard to know how to give back.
Yeah.
And we also know that first responders, they're overworked. And so the idea of creating a habit, a self-practice of, working out will help that first responder fill their cup first. It will help them prioritize themselves, even though they're, being pulled down this crazy trail of taking care of people through all the different ways that first responders do. So we want you to sponsor your friends who are first responders, nurses, doctors, firefighters, police officers, even,
ambulance drivers.
But grocery store clerks. Like if it's someone who's been on the front lines, helping the rest of us survive, through this pandemic and now through all these natural disasters that are happening, and you want to do something special for them, we think it'll be great because then you can sponsor them and then the two of you can be accountability buddies together during the challenge, and it's going to be so much fun. So here's how you do it.
Oh, tell them how.
Yeah. And then sorry for cutting you off. Here's how to do it. So we've changed the website. Now during the checkout, there's a little checkbox that says, is this a gift? And you just go to 100withme.com and it will take you to the registration form and you can check, yes, this is a gift. And then after you go to the next page, it will have an email pop up. You'll do the payment, and then it'll have an email pop up that says email your friend. And so you'll put in their first name, last name, and email address, and then you write them a nice little message. Hey, I'm so excited to invite you to this thing. I'm sponsoring you in this, however you want your message is going to be. And then they will get an email prompting them to sign up for free because you've already paid for the registration. So we hope you get excited about that. We were trying to think, how can we, get our community to support first responders, and we thought that this was a really great way to do it.
Well, and just going back, because you're like, how can we help, right? And I think a lot of times people think, like lately I've just felt a little bit helpless. I'm like, helpless and in some cases hopeless, and it can feel really hard to even think about yourself right now when like so many people have it worse than you. And this is actually how you can do it, because the reality is that with our challenge, there is so much community accountability. And I know you're thinking, but how will they have the time? I barely have the time. Again, this is a consistency challenge. It's not, it's not a like double, like a 2-a-day workout challenge. This is where we're literally teaching people, because I believe that when you do Pilates, you actually are practicing how to talk to yourself, treat yourself, pour into yourself, so you can do it in life better. And so they can do the 10-minute intro class on the busiest day. We have an NP who is a member of ours who on Wednesdays, she shuts one of the rooms, the patient rooms, and does our mat class.
Puts up her laptop and does her mat class during her lunch hour.
Yeah, so I do know that it is possible for these human beings to have this time, but sometimes they don't even know that this is out there for them.
Right.
And this is a way for you to give back. You don't have to like, what's the right charity? What's the right thing? No, you can actually go to the person you know, the person who's helped you, the friend of a friend, and you can say, here, this is for you, and I bought this for you.
And also, again, like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of fun because it's something that you can do together.
Yeah.
Right? So you can be on IG together and tagging each other and commenting back and forth, and we were just thinking, how could we make it, more of a community thing, plus support our first responders. So we're really excited about this. We hope that you get excited about this. If you don't know any first responders yourself, ask someone, hey, do you know a first responder? I want to sponsor them.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So that's at 100withme.com. That's where you can get your early bird ticket, and that's where you can sponsor a first responder essential worker. All right, my love. Before we get into our recap, we have an audience question.
We do. This is fun. I love that we get questions. If you have questions yourself, please just DM us on the Beit Pod. What's the question?
Okay. So, hello, Lesley. I hope you are well. I am. Thank you. I have a question for your podcast. Do you find morning pages the hardest to do when you feel okay? Good. I've started to do them after picking up all the subliminal messages from your podcast. Those were not subliminal, y'all. Those were direct. You should do these. But I'm glad that they worked. And have found them to be very therapeutic. I've signed
morning pages.
Morning pages.
About.
Yeah. I have signed up for your habits webinar already. Oh, if you want to know, that happened a couple days ago, but I'll be teaching that stuff. Side note, there's a parentheses in here. I'll be teaching that throughout the challenge. So if you missed it, don't worry, you're going to get it for 30 days in that challenge. So she signed up for the habits webinar already, and she is fine, and she's busy. When she finds she's busy, and I feel okay, it's easy to let them slide. Babe, we were talking about this.
So the question actually was, do you find morning pages the hardest to do when you feel okay or good?
So glad you're here.
Yeah. So because I know it's like, wait, where were we? Did you ever play that game of like, how did we get to where we are in the conversation, and you try to retrace your conversation back?
I don't. I only do that in my head because I actually, I'll think of something, and I'll think of something else, and I'll think of something else, and I'll just go blah 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 blah, and you're like, where is this coming from? And then I have to do it for myself, not with others.
That's really funny. Okay. Anyway, so do you find morning pages the hardest to do when you feel okay or good? First off, morning pages, for those of you who are unaware, it's an idea that you basically get all of the crazy thoughts out of your head, not necessarily crazy, but that mess of morning thoughts that happens when you wake up and you're like, blah, it's all inside your head. You get it out of your head onto a piece of paper, and then you literally shred that paper and it's gone, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. But it's a really great tool.
It's from the book, The Artist's Way. There's a whole, if you want to do the book, but you can also just do morning pages, and you do it as soon as you wake up, because if you remember from our episode with Katie Miller.
Katie
Kerner Miller.
Yeah. Katie Miller Kerner.
Katie Miller Kerner.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to change the order of her name. Anyways, she is a hypnotist, and she talks about the brain waves being in theta. And when you first wake up, that's why meditation works, or morning pages, because you're not fully awake yet. So you're not like in your head about it. You just brain dump, and you write for 3 legal pages.
So that's episode 21, by the way, for those of you who are wondering.
So anyways, so the question is, do you find them hard to do when you feel good? Okay. Cause she finds them very therapeutic. So Brad and I were talking about this because while he doesn't do morning pages, he is a songwriter. And so, do you want to share about that?
Yeah, I do. So, honestly, I would say it has nothing to do with how you feel. Right? The purpose of doing morning pages or writing music is not to do with how you feel. And I can personally guarantee you that when you feel good or normal or fine, you will skip your morning pages, or not write songs because you're not sad and mopey and feeling like you have something to share or sing about, right? So I did that for a long time, and I would like write for like a year, and then I wouldn't write for like a year, and then I'd write again for a year, and when I ended up going to school, I had to take a songwriting class, and I had a lyric writing class, and basically my teachers gave me homework. Write a song. When? By next class. When's next class? In 2 days. What? You want me to write a song in 2 days? That was terrifying, right? But the point of it was that it was an exercise. You get into the habit of doing your morning pages. You get into the habit of, for us, we do something called pre-writing, right? So before you sit down to write your song, you actually do an exercise called pre-writing. It's very similar to morning pages. It just helps kind of get the juices going, and get that creativity flowing. So anyway, honestly, it really has nothing to do with how you feel. And if you let it be contingent on how you feel, then you will not do them. Right. Yeah.
Because you get out of the habit of it. So, so in my webinar that I did, which is already expired, my loves, but, again, we'll talk about it during the Hunt With Me challenge. It's not about like, if I can't do 3 pages, I don't do it. That's kind of the myth of habits, that if you have to be able to do the whole thing 100%, this is where perfectionism comes in and thrives. So what I would say is hinders.
Perfectionism hinders.
Yeah. It totally does. So what I would say is make the habit that you are going to sit down to write a page.
Right.
Every day. And so even if you're busy, you still have time to write 1 page, because if you're brain dumping right when you wake up, it's going to take less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then if you ever do all 3, that's extra credit. So you actually just make the habit smaller so you could always do it. And this way, on those busy days, it's still being done. And then the other thing you should do is, even if you miss them, like you wake up late and you legitimately can't do them because you need to be in the car in 5 minutes, is you celebrate the fact that you thought about it. And here's the thing. Our brains are very much designed to run the fuck away from pain and like lean into pleasure. And so if you talk negatively to yourself, or you have any like, I just can't do this, I'm just so busy, I'm feeling fine, I don't need them, your brain doesn't see them as a positive thing, so it's not going to find time or space to do them, because it doesn't see that as positive. But if every time you think about doing them when you're creating the habit, or on a busier time, or maybe you're traveling and it's just not possible. Like when we travel to Cambodia, it's not like I have morning page time. It's a different day. So, but I don't talk badly to myself. I just go, oh, okay, I'm so awesome for remembering the things that are important to me. And you say things like that to yourself. 1, you're going to feel freaking awesome. It's going to up-level your self-confidence in a huge way. 2, it's going to solidify that as a habit. But by making the habit be, I'm going to do 1 page, or even 1 paragraph, half a page. Yeah. And then if you do more, that's extra credit. You're going to find that it's always there. And here's the thing. If we only lean on things to help us when we're not feeling good, the chances of you going towards them when you're not feeling good are less likely, because you're going to have to remember that makes you feel good, which is like an advanced way of self-awareness. And B, you're not in the habit of doing them. So then you have to find the space to do them, which is going to create a whole other upheaval in yourself. So I would just say is like, make the habit smaller. Make yourself like say, I'm going to do 1 page or half a page.
Yeah, great.
I love that question.
That is a fantastic question. Thank you so much for sending that in.
Send your questions to the Beit Pod on Instagram. We will answer them on the next recap.
Okay, now let's talk about Danielle Pascente.
Yes!
That was a really fun episode to listen to, by the way. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know the two of you probably had to like slow it down, because when you two get going, it's like... so I was laughing. I did enjoy it. Danielle Pisente is an established personal trainer in Los Angeles and the creator of the Danielle Pisente training guides. She can be found as the lead trainer for the Fit On app, 30-day fat burn series on BeFit, and guest trainer on Studio Tone Up. She is a fitness expert and elite trainer for Pop Sugar, and she was recently named as a trending fitness star by Shape Magazine. Wow. Her clientele ranges from celebrities to CEOs, as well as large weight loss and event prep clientele. Anyway, I was reading this going, wow, I don't actually, because I only know Danielle from the gym. So like,
I know we just worked out together. He had no idea.
I mean, I knew she ran an online platform and I knew she was like, writing the books and stuff, but like, I was like, holy shit, like what? How did I not know any of this
My
stuff?
friends are really amazing.
She is really amazing.
She's incredible.
And I met her husband one time at the chiropractor. How random. Matt.
Yeah.
And
we run into him a lot at the chiropractor. We run into a lot of people at the chiropractor. That is like
kind of hilarious. Anyway, she's really inspiring. She definitely is very real. I liked that about her a lot. So it was a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah, it was a fun podcast. I'm so glad she was, this is the power of amazing friends. I was like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Will you be on it? And she's like, of course. She's just the coolest. So, she's super fun. One of the things that I love that we talked about was support from your family and closest friends versus entrepreneurs. And, she talked about like
the difference between them. Yeah.
The difference between them. And, a lot of times I think no matter what your goal is or whatever you're working on, maybe you want to go back to school, maybe you want to start something new, maybe you want to start a new workout or go hiking on weekends or something like that. Like, we tend to worry about what our friends and family are going to say because we think we need their support to do the things that we're about to change. And the truth is that we have amazing family, several who work with us, so they totally support us. But the truth is that oftentimes that's actually, they don't know how to support you in the way that you want. And you're going to be a little disappointed or a little frustrated. And the reality is what you're doing, what you want to do, what you want to be, it really actually doesn't have anything to do with them. And so waiting for their support is probably actually going to hold you back or hinder you or make you worry. And really, she talked about entrepreneurs, but I would just say like, lean into people whose reality in life are not affected by the change that you're making. Yeah. And go with them because they're going to be like, oh, I've been there before. You're going to love this. You're going to feel so good. And then what's really cool about family and friends is they just want you to be happy. And when they see that this new change is actually making you happy and that you don't need them to do it, they're going to be actually really happy for you.
Yeah. I think that, when you first start something, who do you know? You've got your closest friends in your family. So you're going to tell them, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And they're going to be like, that sounds so great. But when things get challenging or difficult or, whatever, going back to the friends and family is hard. They want to be there for you, but they don't really understand what you're doing. And so they're not going to necessarily be, what's the right word? Commiserating, I think is a good word, as other people who are in a similar space as you, who would actually understand what it means to lose a client. Yeah. Like the ramifications of it, or the win that that you just should be celebrating when you get a client, right? Or something like that, where like, you say to your family, like, oh yeah, I just sold a 10-pack. Like, that doesn't mean anything. They're like, great, honey, good job, right? But no, that's like a massively big deal.
Well, if, for example, a couple of examples. One, when we were going to Cambodia and we told my grandfather, we're traveling to Cambodia, he wasn't like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like other people who...
Yeah, and it was like, we're going to Cambodia and we're taking a whole bunch of people. This was his response.
It's really dangerous there. You should be doing that. That's actually really a bad idea. Like, I don't know, that's really unsafe.
And it was like, well, we've literally sold tickets and everyone has plane tickets and we're going.
Way to shoot my parachute, Pop. And here's the thing. Love him for he only wants us to be safe, right? Another example is this, and Brad talks in like business terms, but so I know not all of you are here for any business. You're just here to how to be it till you see it. But I was getting a facial from I'm trying to make friends in Vegas, and I'm going to have her, my facialist, on this podcast to talk about your skincare and all this stuff, because, you know, your moneymaker definitely can help you be it till you see it.
Plus, she's a badass.
She's also badass. So anyways, I was getting my first facial with her, and I said, oh, how long have you been open? She's like, well, I signed the lease February 2020.
Ugh.
So exactly. Brad and I were instantly like, oh gosh, that sucks. But like anyone else who's not in business and understands, they probably would have been like, oh, wow, so you've been open a year and a half. They may not, and most likely wouldn't have had the guttural, my guttural heart sank for her.
Yeah.
Because
she signed it a month before COVID.
COVID, and her business is facials. And so
it's clearly in person, you're touching someone. I mean,
yeah. So anyways, whatever it is that you are wanting to add in your life or do in your life, whether that's a business or a hobby or a habit or a routine, you know, it's okay to know and share with your family what you're up to, but don't do it in a way that you need them to like pat you on the back and be your cheerleader. Lean into the people, and they might be strangers, who are doing that thing already, because they remember what it's like to start.
Sure.
They remember what it's like to be nervous about it. They also know what it's like when you're on the other side of it and you're going through the hills and valleys of what life is in that thing. So I just love that. What did you love?
So I really liked the point that she was talking about. I guess I always think about business. So I always pick business things. So
some people are going to create stuff for Etsy. So all this is applicable. Also, this is
like the topic of conversation was obviously all about online fitness business. So that makes sense here. But she talked about transitioning her in-person client business to an online business, and the process of how that happened. You made the comment that she didn't go all in, meaning she didn't just like cut all of her private clients and just only focus on the online, because, you know, it's a longer term process to build up a business like that. But she kind of balanced it. She had all of her clients and started working on this, and then slowly was letting go of clients while her online business was beginning to grow, to the point where probably now it's similar to how we did it. You only teach a few clients that you love, and then if people come into town, you know, you might be willing to offer them a session, kind of a thing. And I think that she's in a similar space. And I thought it was a really great point to say, you know, there's like you know, I talk about the different, where your money comes from, and the way that you are, where if it's coming from like source A and you're starting source B, you're going to run out of time. You can't have both source A and source B making you all of the money that you need, because you probably don't have enough time in your life to do both of those things full time. So you're going to have to like slowly switch the two as it's happening. I know that's like epically hard to do when you have a full-time job.
You also can't see what he's doing if you're listening.
Yeah, if you're watching YouTube, you can see me.
But Brad's doing like scales. So think of scales, and like one scale would be like the way you make money today, and the other scale is the way you want to make money in the future. And then at some point you're picking things off of the heavy scale, moving it to the lighter scale, because
yes, that's
it's
a
growing,
great visual.
And then they equal out, and at some point you're going to have to just frickin' leap. But but it's not 0 to 60. You definitely have a foot on a canoe and a foot on an island until you can't do the splits.
So yeah, there's that. Anyway, I thought it was great because you know, and we could definitely endorse that approach too, because it's literally how we did it too. We took a look at the income and said, all right, if all of our income is coming from personal clients, but we want to start something else out down the road, how do we begin to switch the two? And it was a slow process. It took, you know, a couple of years, to be honest, for us to really be able to pull your schedule back to the point where you weren't feeling overwhelmed with teaching one-on-one.
Yeah.
And also I would say that it's okay for it to go that way. So if you're in the thick of it right now and you're feeling like completely overwhelmed, you know it's not sustainable to be doing both things too much. You need to make that slow adjustment of letting go of some clients or letting go of some teaching hours so that you can work on your long-term business plan.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of members who have their day job, and then they have this thing that they're wanting to start. And the same thing is like, you know, you can only do your day job when the day job is asking you to work. And so you have to carve out time to do the other things. And it's a matter of knowing your numbers, right? If you know what you're trying to replace, then you can set yourself up, create a path of like, okay, what are the bills that I have to pay? What bills can I get rid of? And like, what is the like monthly nut that I have to make? And so then you can start to see a light at the end of the tunnel and figure out like, when is it that you can make that leap? And for us, like, I think a lot of people are surprised that we've had OPC for 3 years now, like 3 years anniversary right now. And they thought, oh, did you go online because of COVID? It's like, no, I was actually already online. And we actually had plans in 2020 for me to be more fully focused on our online business. It just so happened that COVID was like, we're just going to rip that Band-Aid off for you. Yeah. You like, we're going to make this a much easier transition. I was like, is it easier?
Well, it wasn't easier, it was a much faster transition we were forced to.
I didn't have to have a lot of tough conversation. That's true. It was definitely, it was in the plans and in the works, and we were on our way there. It was just a bigger jump than I probably could have made. Bigger.
Yeah, bigger jump.
I was picturing like, I don't know why I was picturing this, like Indiana Jones, like when you have to, like, it would have been like a leap across a rock, and this was like one of those like jumping up to a rock and like grabbing on my fingertips.
Whip, grab the thing, pull yourself up.
And like with my fingertips somehow miraculously be someone who can climb a rock, but that's what it felt like. And so anyways, that's just, I like that you pulled that up, because I think a lot of people here might be thinking of a side hustle. And it's good to know that the people you see on Instagram who seem like they're killing it, they weren't born killing it. They worked their way up, and they're consistent, and they slowly took some time from one thing and put it towards another thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So finally, let's talk about the beit action items from your conversation with Danielle Pisente. What bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items can we take away from your convo? I'm going to jump in first here. She had two very clear, very concise recommendations. And the first one was to take small actionable steps to build that bigger picture. And I thought that this was really well visualized when she said, you might look at my business and wonder, why are people signing up for my stuff and they're not signing up for your stuff? And she said, but you are looking at my business in chapter 12 of my novel. I've been doing this for 5 years online and years before that, right? And so if you're just getting started and you're looking at me, feeling frustrated, you shouldn't do that, because you need to start at step one. I started at step 1 years ago, and I'm, now I'm further down the path than you are, right? So the small actionable steps will help you in so many different ways, such as, the perfectionism thing. Take a small step forward. Just take a small step forward, right? Or the overwhelm. If you're feeling overwhelmed, take a small step forward.
It goes back to the question that we had this week. It's like, maybe, I feel like I'm busy. I can't do the morning pages. Well, so just do half a page.
Yeah.
Towards the bigger picture of making it consistent and making sure you have time all the time. And so I think people think it's got to be all or nothing, and nothing is all or nothing.
Nothing is all or nothing.
That's my quote card. But like, what I love about this is I always work backwards from the ultimate goal. So like, being it till you see it, the person, place, business, life you want to have in the future, we work backwards.
Sure.
Until we get to where you are today. And then you just do little tiny steps. I heard somebody talking about his whole thing is like, you have a 30,000 foot view. So like, you're flying over your life and you get a big picture of like what you want. So if you like think about when you're flying, when I picture flying into LA, I can see the buildings of downtown, and I can see the tops of the corridor, and I can see the ocean. I actually can't see that street specifically is Ashton Avenue, like where we used to live. Like, I can't see that. I can just see the buildings that landmark that, right? But then when you land and you get to where you're going, you're in mouse steps, like you're in the map, right? So you're just he talks about 30,000 foot view and then making mouse steps. And I wish I could tell you who it was. I have no idea. But
I'll look that up. We'll see if we can find it.
Whatever your bigger picture is, you work backwards and you take those small actionable steps. I love that. Thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah, sure. So what about you?
Oh, of course, I loved her take messy action.
I know. I was like, yeah, why would that not click?
I mean, thanks, Danielle. It is in the intro.
Yeah, it totally is.
It is in our merch. But everyone, if you didn't know, we have merch that says take messy action. And, the reason I say this is like, I had someone say to me, I was teaching them a session and I was saying, we just have to it's going to be okay for it to be ugly and not be perfect. And she's like, I am an oldest child. And I was like, me too.
Me too.
She's like, yeah, Brad too. And she's like, yeah, but it has to be perfect. And I said, I'm just going to tell you right now that that's a story that you're telling yourself. And you can live with that story, but it's going to keep you from actually doing the things that you want to do because you're waiting for perfection. And our bodies, just like any project you're working on, they take time for the connections from your brain to the muscles you're not using to even work. Like if you've never used that muscle in the way that we're asking it to be used, it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
But, so I'm the oldest child of two oldest children. So the pressure was real. And I'm not saying that as a slight to my folks, but like I literally would cry when things weren't perfect and I would be frustrated and I would just not do things because I would literally get an F instead of turning in a half written paper. And so Brad's laughing because I think that there was probably some tears when our first
there
business.
were tears when I was younger too, because I'm also, I don't consider myself a perfectionist, but I don't like failure. So that's, there were tears.
There were tears. So here's the thing. I get it, my perfectionists and overachievers. I see you. I understand when I say take messy action, that is like nails on a chalkboard for you.
Sure.
Here's what I'm going to say. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And even just saying take messy action, just throw ingredients in a smoothie thing and see what happens. If you don't like it, add more honey. It's going to get better. But the thing is that if you don't take that messy action, you will take no action because nothing will ever be ready. And when it is ready, if it ever becomes ready, the truth is that it's no longer going to make the impact you want to make because that means freaking everyone was doing it. And now you see the path forward so you can just copy and paste and it's not going to feel authentic to you. And, so anyways, whatever you have to do, write on a chalkboard, take messy action today.
Take messy action today.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Lesley Logan.
And I'm Brad Crowell.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so grateful you're here. How are you going to use these tips in your life? Screenshot this podcast, tag Be It Pod with your takeaway or your messy action you're taking.
Yeah, the messy action. Send us the screenshot with your messy action.
Yeah, whenever you tag us, it actually just DMs us automatically. That's the coolest thing about technology. And tag the Be It Pod, and we will catch you on the next episode.
All righty. Talk soon.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
Kevin and Belle at Disenyo handle all of our audio editing and some social media content.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jaira Mondal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer Jay Pedroso for editing all the video each week so you can.
And the Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.